Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. We go to the phones, and the Republican strategist, Matt Mackowiak, joins us. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Chad. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. I guess we'll start with the court cases. It doesn't seem like anything's going well for the Trump team with these court cases. Have we been missing anything?
No, I wouldn't say we've been missing anything. I mean, it's it's a significant challenge. It's been several weeks now since the election. They haven't made a ton of progress. They've been doing these legislative hearings in a couple states, Pennsylvania, Arizona. Forget if there's a third state there. They have lawsuits pending. They filed one in Wisconsin today. They've had one in Pennsylvania. They've now appealed, I think, to the Supreme Court. I know there's been a request to have signature verification in Georgia. It just feels like they're, the sands of the hourglass are slipping away, and the opportunity here is really just, kind of evaporating. You got to remember, the really key deadline here is December 14th when the Electoral College meets in state capitals around the country, and then December 18th when they vote, when the U.S. House votes based on the Electoral College. So they've got 2 weeks at this point, and they're going to probably lose at district court and perhaps at circuit court level. Where they're hoping, I think, to succeed is perhaps at the Supreme Court level. Yeah. So you've got to get into those courts, present evidence, get a ruling, get an appeal filed, get those arguments made, and get a ruling from the Supreme Court by December 14th. And so that's just really challenging. Now, look, I think there are some good questions that they're asking. Why did Biden appear to underperform with Hispanics and African American voters everywhere but a handful of battleground counties in these 3 or 4 or 5 states? Is it plausible that given the enthusiasm disadvantage Biden was at, that he would go from 66 million votes for Hillary to 80 million votes for him 4 years later? What do we know about mail ballots and how legitimate that process was in each state? These are all, I think, reasonable questions, but it's incumbent now upon the Trump campaign and the lawyers involved, to really, get the facts out there, not just in the court of law, but also with the public, because up to this point, I think they've done a very poor job of presenting this evidence in a clear and compelling way.
Yeah. Focus a little bit on Georgia. That is the next battleground for Republicans who are hoping to keep control of the U.S. Senate. They need one of those seats, Matt, to fall their way. What are we hearing out of Georgia right now? Which, I assume it's all hands on deck in Georgia for both the Democrats and the Republicans. What are you hearing out of that state?
Yeah, it's definitely all hands on deck. Look, there's good news and bad news. I think the good news is that, if you take the Kelly Loeffler race, she and Doug Collins, the 2 Republicans, easily had a majority of the vote over Raphael Warnock. And Collins has endorsed Loeffler. He was campaigning with her over the weekend. In the David Perdue race against John Ossoff, Perdue was very close to avoiding runoff altogether. He was, I think, 2 points ahead of Ossoff. So they both had leads, and these are, Georgia, I still believe is a red state. I know the Democrats flipped it, and these races are close. Now, the bad news is Republicans right now have a lot of doubt about the election system in Georgia, and there's tremendous, anxiety about that, and you may have some Trump voters stay home because they don't think the election will be held with integrity. Now, the good news is I think Trump is headed to Georgia on Saturday. He'll be down there campaigning, presumably making the case for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler in a way that will be meaningful. And then I saw this morning the RNC's announced a $20 million effort in the state with ground game and television ads and radio. So, look, this is going to be really close. And if Republicans can win both seats, it would be a very, very good outcome. If Democrats win both seats, we're going to be looking at a very different country January 20th when Biden gets sworn in. So the stakes really couldn't be higher. I understand the concerns people have about the election, but boy, if Georgia voters stay home thinking that doing that is somehow going to shine a light on election fraud or show that they're protesting or something like that, they are totally misjudging the situation. Yeah. The best way to minimize the effectiveness of voter fraud is to have legal voters turn out and vote in overwhelming numbers. I really think there's a chance Perdue and Loeffler can win these races by 5, 8, or even 10 points if Republican voters across the state turn out. But we'll see. There's a lot of money pouring in, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, absolutely. What do we know about the team that Biden is putting together? He's doing a transition. He's going through the motions that he has to go through right now. He's building his team. What do we know about some of these folks that are going to be in his cabinet?
Yeah, it looks like sort of Obama's third term to a great extent. He's put a lot of Obama types in. I saw there's a story in the Hill this morning about the sort of the lack of minority appointments. You don't have one African American appointed to a cabinet slot or to a senior White House staff role. It's pretty astounding, given black voters basically gave Biden the nomination, particularly in South Carolina, where they resurrected his candidacy from the grave. I think it needs to be said that Biden has basically put more mainstream and moderate, you would call them probably Democratic appointments together rather than far-left progressive appointments. He's not appointing Elizabeth Warren. He's not appointing Bernie Sanders, it doesn't appear. That's a good sign, but there are still some appointments here that are concerning, and I'll highlight two of them. Tony Blinken for Secretary of State. I think you're going to see tremendous attention paid to this question of foreign, consulting for foreign governments and foreign clients. He's going to say, look, I got non-disclosure agreements. I can't reveal them. I don't think that's going to be good enough. But then second, I think, is Neera Tanden, the announcement that was made, I think, 2 nights ago, who has really been at war with Bernie Sanders and has been a conspiracy theorist. She's made arguments that Russia, hacked our voting machines in 2016 and changed votes. She said Mitch McConnell has been compromised by Russia. I mean, she apparently has deleted over 1,000 tweets in the last 2 weeks since she's been nominated to be budget director of the White House, which is really one of the most significant positions in government. It's one that maybe most people don't know much about, but it is very significant. I think she's going to go down. I really believe that. I believe Republicans are going to block her, and she may not even get all the Democratic votes, but we'll see.
Well, if they were going to just ban all the Democrats who went along with the Russia deal, that's, I don't know if they'd have. I don't know if they could appoint anybody into the cabinet. I think all the Democrats went along with that. But yeah, Senator Cornyn came out and said there's no way that she would get through the Senate as it stands right now.
That's right, and again, I don't think that's Cornyn, going off, half-cocked. I think he's talked to a number of other Republican senators, and that's really the view of the conference at this point. Of course, keep in mind, we'll see where the Senate is in terms of the numbers based on Georgia, but if it's 51-49 or 52-48, that's going to dictate how many Republicans would have to break in order to confirm a nominee. Keep in mind, the other possibility here is that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell makes a decision about whether nominees get a floor vote at all. And that's going to be true for judges. It's going to be true for cabinet. So it's possible he could prevent, a really outrageous nominee from getting a vote at all. I don't think he's going to do that overwhelmingly, but I think here or there, one time here, one time there, it could happen. So it's definitely a fight to watch. And starting January 20th, it's going to be a big battle.
With the time that this Congress has left, in particular the U.S. Senate, what do you think will be the main thing that they try to get done between now and January?
Well, they've got an end of year government spending bill to keep the government funded. Presumably that'll go through maybe February or March, give them a few months for the new Congress and the new administration to come in. But they've got to do that. I think they've got 2 weeks or so until that runs out, and I don't think there's much risk of the government shutting down. But then second is COVID relief. And really Speaker Pelosi is in this unbelievable position where she knows her own bill can't pass the Senate, can't get 60 votes. But she also knows she can't really kind of negotiate and fold on her ridiculous demands because she needs to be reelected Speaker, and she's only got an 8 or 10 vote majority. So she can't risk losing, members in the middle or members on the left. In fact, the Problem Solvers Caucus, the moderate Democratic group, is doing a press conference, I think, this morning, releasing their own COVID stimulus compromise bill. So COVID stimulus is something that's going to happen. It's either going to be now or it's going to be right after Biden gets in office. I think it'll be probably before the end of the year. I think they'll find a way to pass a $1 trillion plan that does most of what most people think. The thing that Pelosi's not going to get is she's not going to getting rid of the SALT deduction or putting the SALT deduction back in place, the state and local tax deduction, which is important to her, and she's not going to get a lot of other left-wing demands. But if they can get money for schools and money for restaurants, money for airlines, perhaps another stimulus check, that would be a very good outcome.
Matt, before I let you go, do you think we'll see more judges confirmed by the Senate?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, they have one today. I think they just teed up 5 more in the Senate Judiciary Committee. you got to go through committee, then you got to get a cloture vote, 60 votes, and then or I guess not 60 anymore. I guess it's a majority, and then you have to pass them on the floor. So these nominees take time. But yes, I mean McConnell has basically said we're going to leave no vacancy when we turn this thing over. So yes, you had Amy Coney Barrett's replacement on the Seventh Circuit. I forget if that's gone through yet. You'll have a number of district judges, number of other Article III judges. So yeah, they're going to basically what do they say, clean the barn or sweep the barn before they close up shop on the current Congress.
Very, very good. All right, Matt, tell folks how they can sign up for your newsletter and tell them about your podcast as well.
Yeah, 20,000 plus Texans receive our morning email about Texas politics. It's called Must Read Texas. You can go to mustreadtexas.com to sign up for free or to go ahead and get a paid subscription so you know you'll never be interrupted. The podcast is called Mac on Politics. It's available in the iTunes Store, on Google Play, on Stitcher, and on Spotify.
Very good. Matt, as always, appreciate your time. We'll visit with you next week.
Take care.
That's Matt Mackowiak, Republican strategist, here on the Chad Hasty Show.